Hey, thank you so much to everybody for being here. I am your host, Chris Duffy, and welcome to Wrong Answers Only Live. On today's show, you and our panel of comedians are going to learn all about emergency room medicine and climate health. We will also find out what our expert is like when she is not saving lives and trying to save the planet. This is an interactive show, so we do want you to be involved. We have audience mics in the front of either aisle. We're going to do our best to get to your questions, and we are going to come to you multiple times throughout the show, so get prepared, start thinking about what you want to know. Before we get into all that good stuff, though, I would like to introduce the director of the Science and Entertainment Exchange, who's going to tell you a little bit more about this program. Please give a big round of applause for Rick Loverd.
Hi, guys. So I'm Rick Loverd. I'm the program director of the Science and Entertainment Exchange. I'm here to just very briefly tell you about the Exchange and also thank tonight's funder, the Wellcome Trust. So for anybody who doesn't know them, they're one of the world's largest charitable foundations focused on improving health through science, research, and ideas. They are a major supporter of biomedical science, public health, mental health, and global health. And they also support work at the intersection of science, ethics, history, and the arts with exhibitions and public programming like tonight. So thanks to them, the Exchange is going to be doing 7 other events this year on climate and human health. So thank you, Wellcome Trust.
Thank you, welcome.
So about a year ago, I was writing this grant, and I called Carrie, who's the director of LabX, and I said, hey, how about doing a Wrong Answers Only? And she said, sure. So thank you for saying yes, Carrie. That's why we're here tonight. And so for those of you who don't know what the Exchange is, we're a program of the National Academy of Sciences that connects filmmakers and storytellers to scientists, engineers, and medical professionals while they're making stories. We've done this more than 4,300 times. If you've seen a movie since 2009 with grown-ups in spandex pretending they can fly, odds are we worked on it. So if you're interested in our work and you want to come to more of our events, we have a phone number you can call. It's 844-NEED-SCI. So that's 844-NEED-SCI. Operators are standing by. And in the meantime, thanks to Chris, Dynasty Typewriter, LabX, all of our panelists, the Wellcome Trust, and everyone for coming tonight. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Wow. I love that that phone number is real and not a joke. I thought for sure that was going to be a joke, but it's a real phone number that you can call. I love that. Okay. Let's get into tonight's show. We have an incredible panel of comedians who are going to be playing Wrong Answers Only tonight. We have Karen Chee, Joanna Hausmann, and Matt Kirshen. Give them a big round of applause. Here they come. All right. Hello. Hello. Thank you so much for being here. And tonight's expert is absolutely incredible. I could tell you about her, but better than that, let's have her tell you about herself. Here's a video.
So I'm an ER doctor, right? I crank shifts in the emergency room in New York. People always ask, they're like, what are you doing studying climate change, right? Like, that's so bizarre. Like, you're an ER doctor. And what I say is because I see the impacts of climate change on the patients that I treat every single day in my practice. Climate change is happening now. It is affecting people deeply, both in like really like kind of drastic ways, like when we have a heat stroke patient coming in, but also, in more insidious ways related to, waterborne diseases and air pollution, affecting asthmatic children. And, we see birth outcomes being impacted by extreme heat and by air pollution, right? And so people are being affected now. If we can start thinking about, climate and environment as being so intricately connected to our own health, that's what I'm trying to communicate. Hi, my name is Cecilia Sorensen. I'm an associate professor of emergency medicine and environmental health sciences at the Mailman School of Public Health and Columbia Irving Medical Center. I also direct the Global Consortium on Climate and Health Education, and I'm a practicing emergency medicine physician.
Okay, Cecilia, thank you so much for being here and sharing your work with us.
It's great to be here.
I'm so excited to hear more about what you do in all of the different ways that you work. You work in a lot of different fields. But panelists, you're going to get a chance to talk to Cecilia so much over the course of this show, but this is your first opportunity to ask a climate doctor anything that you want to know. We call this You Do What? So you get one question. What would you like to know? Karen, what's the one question that you want to ask?
Hi, I'm Karen.
Hi, Karen.
I want to ask, okay, so whenever I read about the environment and climate and stuff, it makes me really anxious, and I'm already very anxious. Should I continue being anxious?
I think you have to do something about it, Karen.
Oh,
You know, like,
Yeah.
like
people say that, when you're anxious about sort of climate and environmental change, that getting together with other groups of people who are also concerned about it and trying to do something positive socially about it can actually help
Yeah.
alleviate some of your anxiety.
So I should hang out with people.
That did not sound promising. The way you delivered "I should hang out with people" was not indicative of you hanging out with other people. Okay, well,
Climate anxiety is really common. I mean, let me just step back. Climate anxiety is very common. A lot of younger people, even older people, are really anxious about it, especially if they've been affected by a severe weather event, right? They don't know when it's going to happen again. So I think it's really common what you're experiencing. I would say that.
I love that you
Thank you.
started with here's a thing you could do, and then you know what? You're not going to do that, so it's okay. You're totally normal. You're not a freak. Okay, Joanna, what do you want to know?
Okay, here's the thing. You're an ER doctor as well. So when in your life are you I have the time to also focus on climate? Because I'm a comedian and I'm I can't do anything else. This is far too hard.
When you're waiting for radiology studies to come back and it's slow in the ER, right? And you're just okay, the labs haven't come back yet. Okay, well, I'm just gonna work on a paper and write the paper. And, you think about it, I don't know, you think about it in the shower, you think about it when you're driving, but I also don't work full time in the ER. So I do have some protected time where I can just focus purely on climate and health.
Has stuff in the ER triggered you into wow, I think this is climate related, perchance?
Oh, absolutely. And this is where I first started thinking about it. So I was in emergency physician training in Denver Health, right? Big, trauma center, Denver, Knife and Guns Club, right? And we used to call summer.
Sorry, what was that? You just said a
Knife
knife and
and
guns
guns?
club?
Yeah, that was what it was called. That's
Wait,
a Knife and
Doctors
Guns
Club?
Yes,
Wait,
that's what.
Sorry,
the
Chris, are
doctors
you not a member of the Knife and Guns Club?
That actually feels like the opposite of what a doctor's club.
Yes.
It was the Knife and Guns Club. I don't know.
Okay.
That was what it was.
Did you have a patch sewn on the back of your white coat?
Oh, yeah.
No, we had jackets. Yeah, we did. No, we did. And but we used to call summer the trauma season, right? And summer was always crazy. And you start noticing that when it's really hot out for a couple days, that you're gonna come into your shift and you're gonna get absolutely destroyed as a resident, right? As a physician in training, you're gonna come in and you're shoot, it's been hot for days. And we're gonna see everything. We're gonna see trauma. We're gonna see heart attacks. We're gonna see violence. We're gonna see, unaccidental trauma. We're gonna see a lot of mental health issues. We're gonna see it all because it's so hot. Wow. And so I started actually kind of thinking about that early on. But people used to say, oh, it's a full moon, that's why it's so busy. It's no, it's not the full moon, it's the heat. It is the heat and how it affects people. And now we know a lot more about it.
Wow. I just have to get this out of my head. That trauma season at the Knife and Gun Club sounds like an incredible Phoebe Bridgers album.
It's like Panic at the Disco.
Yeah, totally. Mhm. Okay, Matt, what question would you like to ask?
Well, yeah, this is really interesting because I obviously, so this whole show is going to be about the intersection of medicine and climate change, and I presume I was invited on as someone who believes in neither. So, as a product of the global fraud. No, I'm kidding.
I did. The tension in the room was very real. I knew you were joking.
Is he serious? He's saying it's pretty straight. He's saying it's pretty straight. No. Okay. So, I'm changing my question because the fact that you're talking about heat being of when it's hot, you're going to see more stuff in ER. But what climate-related event do you dread the most in ER? What sort of climate change-caused thing do you look at and go this is going to be a clusterfuck in ER? Am I allowed to say clusterfuck?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Clusterfuck.
Well, I don't know. Is he allowed to say clusterfuck?
I think so.
Okay, yes.
It's a technical term, right? Yeah. Where I've practiced, so I've been in ERs where we've dealt with wildfire smoke, right? Which wildfires close by to an emergency room where towns are evacuating, doctors can't come to work, nurses can't come to work because they are actively evacuating their homes. Meanwhile, patients are getting affected, right? And you've got tons of patients coming in. So I've seen sort of that. And then I've seen, the heat part, right? I think both are pretty bad. I can't really say that one would be worse than the other, but I also think that we've seen a lot of situations lately where we have severe storms, right? I think that sounds really, really scary. And then we can think about what happened in Paradise, California, where you're actually in a wildfire and there's a hospital there that's actively evacuating. So, yeah, none of them look good.
Yep. Karen, feeling more or less anxious than you were when you walked in?
Somehow more anxious, but also having fun.
Okay, great. Love that. Well, you're someone who deals with emergencies all the time. You quite literally work in the room with the name, emergency room. And one of the biggest takeaways that I have from talking to you before the show as we were doing the pre-interview and writing the script is that you are just like an incredibly adventurous person, both in your professional life and in your personal life. You seek out adrenaline. You like adrenaline. So if to just, put it bluntly, this is a person who travels the world and does extreme shit wherever she is. So in this game, I'm going to show you three a photo, and you have to guess two things: where Cecilia is and what she's doing in this photo. Okay, great.
I am terrified to
We
see
call this WWCD. What was Cecilia doing? Okay, so panelists, let's look at our first photo. What do you think is happening here? Where is she and what is she doing?
I'm gonna say Venice Beach. I would say maybe going to buy a hat.
Okay, Venice Beach buying a hat.
No.
What were you doing here?
So I'm on the border of Syria here, and I'm working in a humanitarian refugee camp with the Syrian American Medical Association. And I was one of 40 doctors who deployed to work in this region that was really severely affected by extreme heat. And yeah, so we were doing a medical mission there.
And so this is, I think this illustrates how the work that you do is local, right? You do it in the hospitals in the cities that you have lived in, but you also think about it globally. It's affecting people everywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, let's look at this next one. What do you think is happening in this photo?
On a date.
Okay.
I'd say it's going well, and there might be a second.
Okay, great. And you want to venture a guess as to where this date is taking place?
I'm gonna also say Venice.
Okay, yes. Once again, shooting for Venice
Close,
Beach.
it's really close.
Okay, where is this one happening?
So this is Guatemala.
Okay. And what were you doing here?
So we are, that's one of the sugarcane workers who is part of the study we were doing, looking at the impacts of extreme heat on agricultural workers. And so we would get up with them every morning at like 4 a.m. and go out to the job site. Obviously, there's sugarcane in the background. And we would take their urine and their blood, and they would work all day. We'd be in the field measuring all these different meteorologic variables, and then at the end of the day, we would take their urine and their blood again. And we would do it every day for a week. In the beginning of the season, the middle of the season, the end of the season. And then we start analyzing, understanding what was happening to their kidneys and their physiology as a result of being exposed to severe heat.
Did they find it harder to do their farming without any blood?
They consented.
Okay. Sorry, I forgot to check. Do we win a prize for being biggest idiot? Like,
Yes,
I can't remember. Is
there
it
is,
like that?
absolutely. It's called Wrong Answers Only.
Okay, cool.
It was just like a little vial.
It's got to be kind of hard to convince people to give you their blood and urine, though. How do you convince people?
That's a good
Asking for a
question.
friend.
I mean, in this case,
Yeah, just in case after the show.
Just if someone wanted to get some urine and or blood anywhere, just how would
On
one
a
go
first
about?
date,
Just
on a first date.
hypothetically.
no, in this case, there's an epidemic of kidney disease happening in these communities that are severely affected. And they all know people kind of personally who have had end-stage kidney disease as a result of working in agricultural fields. And so when we are working with their serum and their bodily specimens, we explain to them what we're doing, and we tell them how they are looking physiologically. So they're actually also getting some health information, and we're very curious to understand what was happening. And they had a lot of questions for us in terms of, like, why are you here? Why does this matter? And what's causing this? But because they knew people who were affected.
So is it mostly dehydration, or is there other stuff as well?
It's partially dehydration, but you can't dehydrate your way out of it. It's also the direct impact of heat, which activates like these things called heat shock proteins in your body that actually changes. So directly the heat is making changes.
With the results that you found from the tracking, did the results surprise you? Did they confirm what you already suspected?
One of the problems with this kidney disease is that it's completely silent until it's end stage. And that's the most devastating part about it, is you don't really know you have kidney disease until suddenly you get very, very bloated and you feel really, really sick and fatigued, and then you go to the hospital and they tell you your kidneys are completely shot, right? So, there's not a lot of primary care in these communities. These are very, poor communities. And so having early detection is really what we need to understand. And what we were trying to understand is, with people who had normal kidney function, could we find early signs that they were going to progress? And we were able to see some signs in the blood and the urine that we got.
And it's because of these proteins?
We were able to see, we ended up calling the people who had daily changes in their kidney function. Like we call them the swingers because their kidney function would swing throughout the day.
Okay.
And
there
those,
are other meanings to that
I
term,
know, but
will
we
say.
called them the swingers. I don't know why.
Okay.
Their kidney function would swing day to day. And then when we looked out and we reconstructed their natural history, those were the ones that ended up progressing to get end-stage kidney disease or get really advanced kidney disease. So knowing that they were having large fluctuations on a day-to-day basis gave us this clue that they were experiencing kidney function dysfunction, and we were able to sort of identify those individuals earlier.
Well, I think already we understand how the work that you're doing is really important, but also is not like the most common work, right? This isn't something that everyone is doing out there. Let's look at another photo, find out what was going on here. Okay, what do you think is happening in this photo? Where is it, and what is she doing?
Oh, is this like Santa's grotto?
You say that as though that's a term we all should be familiar with.
Like
Santa's-
Santa at the mall. This is like where is it? I mean, I'm gonna guess it is up a mountain.
Okay, that is...
That's crazy because I thought it was Venice, actually.
Okay, up a mountain? So far, I think we have to say that's correct.
No, I feel like the mountains are behind. It's clearly down the mountain.
Oh,
Right?
okay. Wow.
The one thing we know is there's another mountain in the background.
What if it's within a mountain?
That's great.
No,
It
this
could
is
be
actually an interesting perspective question. Is it up a mountain, down a mountain,
Also,
or somehow
why-
We're on
both?
our way up it. We're on our way up. We'll give you that hint. Yeah.
What's happening here?
This is me and my husband. We're climbing Aconcagua in this picture.
And that's one of the tallest mountains in the world.
In South America, it is.
And
it's
you
a
are,
seven summit.
And you are trying to get to all 7 of the 7 summits, the tallest mountain on every continent.
Perhaps we'll see.
Okay, but that is a...
Yeah, it's a pursuit. Yeah,
Wait,
That's great.
and are you doing this for fun?
I think so.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'm learning we're pretty different in many ways. Humbling.
Just as you went up and down the mountain, how much did your blood and urine change?
A lot, probably.
Okay, next photo. What is going on here? Where's this, and what is she doing?
Oh, that's one of those things at the shopping mall where you put like a quarter in and then it kind of makes you go like this.
Yeah,
Well,
the
I thought
children's
this
ride.
was a Kia.
She's driving one of the new Kias.
She's driving a new Kia, a hybrid, it looks like. And she's happy about the fact that it's a hybrid because of climate change.
Okay.
Wait, I'm most worried by the fact that it seems like this vehicle is being held together by like a paper clip.
Oh, yes. It does look like there's an alligator clip.
Steering wheel,
Yeah, on top of the steering wheel,
Oh,
there
it's
is
a
an alligator
bulldog,
clip.
isn't it?
Also, it looks like she's driving straight into the sun.
So what is happening here?
I'm trying to learn how to fly.
Okay.
An airplane.
All right.
And this is also just for fun.
Just for fun. Just for fun.
So once again, this is when you're not traveling the world, going to extreme environments to help people and in dangerous places or places that are suffering in terrible ways, you are then going to the most extreme environments on Earth just to relax.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And are you learning to fly because in case the environment gets so bad, you need a plan out of there?
No, the real source. I was working on the Navajo reservation during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was like it was a crisis in a crisis, and I was driving from Colorado all the way down to Arizona and all the way back, and I was like, "Gosh, if I could just get in a plane and fly," and I was like, "That's it." And
Wow.
so I tried to learn how to fly.
Most of us say that, and then it ends there.
Yes.
Most of us don't even say that.
Yeah. I've literally been I've been stuck in traffic so many times and never once did I think I should learn how to pilot a small plane. Okay, last one. What is happening here? What's going on here?
Taking out the trash.
That is right. She's taking out the trash. Sometimes she just does regular stuff like the rest of us. She's taking out the trash. This is you in your apartment. And you know what? I asked you to send me some normal photos of you just doing normal things. And so much of her life is like the normal photos like her flying a plane that I had to specifically have her take photos of herself doing a normal thing.
I will say this. This stairwell looks like the stairwell from like Alfred Hitchcock movie. It looks scary. It looks like a mountain.
That does look like a body is in that bag. as
Yeah,
well.
that
does-
too.
Well,
Also,
you know what?
you
There's...
look-
Oh,
I was
please.
just gonna say, you look so gorgeous taking out the trash. Your
know what?
hair is perfect.
This is like a little Getty image. Woman taking out the trash.
Yeah.
Well, we
Available
can't-
for licensing for.
You know what? All of your comments are going to lead you all to be so delighted by the fact that this is not a one of a kind. In fact, it's part of a series of images that were selected. So why don't you send us the rest of this photo shoot? Let's take a look. Okay, we also have, now here we go. I'm bringing down another one. Oh, okay, and then this one we're going out to the cars, and then here we go. Oh, we're walking over to the dumpsters. We're opening the dumpster. Another, okay, and then another angle. Okay, it's in the dumpster. And another one, and from behind, there's a package there, and then we're done. Okay, great.
You should, how quickly can someone just put all those photos in black and white with a little crosshairs thing in it and just
Yeah, it does
make it look like a private detective is kind of following her?
Yeah. I followed her, and she is taking out the trash. Okay. What else? What other risky activities do you do? We've learned that you're a little bit of an adrenaline junkie.
Well, I love rock climbing. When
Okay.
when I have free time, I love to rock climb, and I like riding motorcycles.
Okay.
To see places. It's a fun way to get around, learn a lot. I like reading books too. I also read books. I also like relax and read books.
The
my
most
God,
dangerous of
same.
all. Knowledge is the
Dangerous
most dangerous activity.
Risk of paper cuts.
That's right. That's right.
Wait, I have a question.
please.
I'm sorry. As a doctor, you're like, I'm going to ride a motorcycle on the
With
red.
a helmet. Oh, I wear a helmet.
Oh, that's so much better.
I mean, it would be
Okay,
insane.
carefully.
It would be insane if you were like, I don't wear a helmet.
Yeah.
But I do imagine that that's not recommended by many doctors to ride a motorcycle.
I think a lot of doctors do ride motorcycles, though. Yeah, those others.
Kind of like do as I say, not as I do.
Oh, like I can think of so many medics who smoke.
Oh yeah.
So doctors used to smoke.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is making me realize I don't think I know any doctors. I can't think of any No, Dr. House rides a motorcycle.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a real doctor.
that's a real one.
That's a real doctor.
Are there activities that, like, because you've been an ER doctor for so long, you're like, no, I'm not doing that?
Yeah, mountain biking.
Oh.
It is some of the worst injuries from mountain biking.
I'm sorry. Isn't that like nature version of a motorcycle?
But you're not wearing face protection. When you're riding a
So there's a lot of,
motorcycle,
like-
and when you ride a motorcycle, you know it's dangerous, right? So you're wearing a full protection, you're wearing like all the gear, and you know it's dangerous. So, but when you're out mountain biking, you're wearing like a cricket helmet, essentially, and nothing to protect your face, and you don't think it's dangerous, and you're going 30 miles an hour.
Wow.
So I think that's the difference. I don't know.
Okay.
All right.
I buy it.
I buy that.
All right, we're gonna. If you're in the audience, I know you have questions, so you can line up at the sides and ask your question, and we will come to you in just a moment. But while they are getting ready and thinking about what questions they have to ask, we're going to do a rapid fire round. I don't think we've ever had a round in this show that was just one question and just one slide before, but this was too good to pass up. So this is a round that's called What's This Slide? And I want to show you a slide. I cannot emphasize enough. This is a real slide that Cecilia uses in her presentations, and I have not edited this slide in any way. I have added nothing, and I have removed nothing. You have to tell me what it could possibly mean. Here's the slide.
Wow. This makes sense, though.
Okay? Tell me what you think this slide is saying.
So, okay, you want to go? Why don't you go first?
I'm pretty sure it's like, find a cute bear. That bear will get you pregnant.
Mine's kind of similar.
Or
I-
like avoid mouth stuff with the bear, or you will get
Yeah.
pregnant. Is that what that?
Okay. Wow, so close to what I was gonna say. For me, it's like if you eat a Klondike bar. Is that what it's pronounced? Yeah. Careful, because you potentially could have a baby who then needs to use an inhaler. And as someone who uses an inhaler almost daily, let's chill, okay? Like, it's okay to be an inhaler kid.
Okay.
And that's what I take away from this beautiful story.
What I love about yours, Joanna, was that you created a narrative and then were offended by the narrative you
Yeah,
created.
and you know what? And
That is
I
incredible.
stand by that.
Yeah.
I stand by that.
Yep. Okay, and Karen, what would you like to guess
Okay,
here?
I just think it's that here are the dangers of having a voluptuous ass. You're gonna trigger some young boy's asthma. He's gonna get asthma so hard that it impregnates the local woman. The local woman is pregnant with asthma baby.
Okay. Now, I do
so
have,
beautiful.
I do feel compelled to just ask one clarifying question for you, Karen, which is that you are just taking it as a given
Yes.
that this first image of a polar bear is the voluptuous ass.
I mean, what else am I supposed to be looking at?
Okay, great. I understand.
Chris, we have eyes.
Okay, and
It does look like a stripper pole. I will say that. I know it's probably a devastating image, but it is a little sexy.
okay,
Yeah, that is a stripper polar bear.
that's right. Hey. Okay, Cecilia,
I
this is
think
a,
I need to change this slide. This is not. So this is the slide that I put up, and the narration is something like, so when I was growing up, polar bears on the iceberg were the poster child for climate change, right? It was a problem that was far away, affecting wildlife that, was sad, and but we didn't really feel it. Like, it wasn't nearby, it wasn't us. Now, flash forward, that's the arrow. PowerPoint.
flash
That's
forward.
the arrow, flash forward. I guess I could change the arrow.
Yeah, the arrow was the problem.
Yeah, it seems. Now, we are not going to slut shame that polar bear on my show. That polar bear is not the problem. And how dare you suggest that polar bear is the problem?
Because now what we're seeing is that climate change is impacting human health. And the most vulnerable are young children and pregnant women. And so this is the new poster child for climate change.
Sorry, can I interrupt here? I was just pregnant. I gave birth like 7 months ago. That's the hottest pregnant woman I've ever seen. I would swap this out for like a hot, sweaty, just like schwitzy, shitty looking. I have pictures. I can send you mine.
Perfect. The slide
And
needs
just
work.
replace it. And I feel like it'll be more clear.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, good. No, that's great.
based on
We're
what
working
we know
together.
about Joanna, you could swap both of the photos for one photo of Joanna pregnant using her inhaler. Oh, I wasn't thinking the
oh
polar
my
bear,
God, I
Joanna.
thought this was the mic again. The polar bear, the asthma child, and me. This could honestly, all of it, just be me. I'm just letting you know.
Just you on the iceberg.
On a stripper pole, asthma, pregnant.
Great.
It does look a bit like bottom right's just eaten the polar bear.
Oh, yes. She's not pregnant at all.
Wow, what the fuck? You think pregnant women look like they ate That's how I felt, actually.
Okay, let's get some audience questions. So I'm going to start over here. Can you say your name and then ask your question?
Hi, yeah, my name is Donovan, and
Hi, Donovan.
I really appreciate all the good work that you're doing, but I'm also curious to know how, because I'm trying to square this for myself, how you reconcile the sort of global impacts of climate change and then individual action, because a lot of flying in a plane to do a good work is still contributing carbon, and how you try and square that circle.
I'm so glad you asked this. This is a really important question that we got to address on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's such a great question. And, I think there's the things we have. I always talk about sort of like the sphere of influence that you have, right? And like the immediate sphere being, the decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis, right? The biggest buckets of which are, how do you transport yourself? Do you bike? Do you drive a car? Do you walk? Do you fly planes? Where do you live? Like, how do you take care of your house? Do you have efficiencies there? And then food, right? These are the biggest categories. And then when you kind of go a sphere out from that, I think about, the investments that you make. Where do you put your money? Where's your 401k? Things like that. And then larger to that is who do you interact with on a day-to-day basis, and where can you exert your influence, right? So for me, I think about like my family and how I can help them become more sustainable. I think about my community, and I think about the hospitals that I work in, right? And how I can sort of exert any influence that I might have over them. I think with climate, we're not going to get out of this with individual actions alone, right? And we are going to make some sacrifices, but I think the largest sacrifices we're going to make collectively, and we're going to make it through policy. And so, getting on a plane and flying around the world is not great for the environment, and we should try to minimize that as much as possible. But in addition to that, we also have to be proactive about working socially and voting and working with policymakers and communicating to try to get change to happen, is how I sort of think about it.
And also, when I asked you this before the show, please, no, that definitely deserves applause.
It's a hard question.
When I asked you this before the show, you gave me kind of a rundown of what the biggest greenhouse gas predictors are. And they weren't actually exactly what I would have expected, right? Like, number one greenhouse gas predictor is whether you have kids or not.
Yeah, people say that, right? And generally, though, if you're from a high-income country, right, and you have, but it's also a little bit controversial, right? Because
Yeah.
you could have a kid who comes out with many great solutions and is an incredible leader that, leads to a lot of social good, right? So it's not always black and white with the kid thing, but you could think about it as if, if you're in a highly developed part of the world and you're in a high consumption pattern and you have many, many kids who are also in high consumption patterns, that could end up being a big decision point in terms of how many kids you have.
But so like when you think about it as like kids, transportation, where you get your food, what you do with your waste, I think it does kind of illustrate that we can't individually solve that because we can't all of us decide to do like a zero carbon version of all those things. Society depends on some of us making some choices there. So we have to figure out other solutions that depend on policy and influence like you were talking about.
Absolutely. And the policy makes it possible for you to walk to work, right? If you don't have sidewalks to get to work, or you don't bikes to, bike safely, right? You're not going to be able to make these decisions that we know are better for everybody.
Wasn't also one of the big oil companies, I'm going to say BP, maybe Shell, but I think BP, that popularized, like actively promoted the phrase personal carbon footprint.
I think that I've heard that too.
Like
That they
I'm
invented the
90,
carbon
I'm 90%
footprint
certain.
calculator.
I can't remember which company, but I think BP. Someone fact check me, please. And it was just because they knew that like popularizing this phrase and getting it out into the thing would sort of help
Make it
push the
on
idea
you.
that like, yeah, this is all just because of things that individuals do and individual change, and it's got nothing to do with the bigger picture and the things we're doing on a global scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting though, but like you do vote with your dollar, right? Every day you go to the store and you can choose what product you want to support. You can support products that have good environmental standards, good sustainability plans, or you can support the ones that don't, right?
Yeah,
You can
right.
get plastic bags or not, right? Like you can also make a small difference with how you spend your money and how you conduct yourselves.
And also several
So I think
times.
it's both.
Several times a week, I am dumping 1 billion gallons of oil into the ocean. So that's just me personally.
Because am I right in remembering like seeing a seagull covered in oil is the only way you can attain true sexual satisfaction?
That's right. You were remembering correctly. Thanks.
Right. It's just like it's just one of those conversations we had once. It's stuck
Yeah.
in my mind for
No,
some
I-
reason.
I
It's
feel
just one of
seen
those
that you
little things.
remembered that,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just like you love to see when they like you.
Yeah, we got it, Matt. Let's.
Like
Please
a
tell me
crying
your-
environmentalist wiping it off. That was your right. Okay. Anyway, like you guys. Sorry. You.
Please
Oh,
tell
we're
me
getting
your,
away- we're getting away
tell
from
me your
the
name and
important
any
stuff.
question that's not about that.
My name is Roger Wilson, thank you. I would love to riff off of that and what this conversation is talking about, which is that there is something that is very rarely talked about both by the two fields that you really specialize in, medicine and climate change. There is something that a lot of people can do that's very concrete, that's both individual and collective, and that's what they choose to eat. From what I understand, and Mark Rober, by the way, does a beautiful video about this, but he feeds a plant-based burger to Bill Gates, and he talks about how really the biggest impact that we're having on the planet right now is animal agriculture, and the fact that that's what's decimating the Amazon, and that's what spending 8 calories to feed an animal that only gives us 1 calorie is unsustainable for the planet. It's also unsustainable for the body, and it does terrible things to the body. So what I just want to ask you, since you're so on the cusp of 2 incredibly important fields, why is it that climate change people don't talk more about animal agriculture and plant-based diets? And why is it that doctors don't talk more about the same kind of thing? Because it's one of the most impactful things we can do for ourselves and for the planet.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing point. Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't want to be that guy. I was a little concerned that I would get the opposite of the applause.
Oh yeah. Well, it
Thank
is
you
always.
all for being nice to me.
Yeah, I mean, you asked a great question. It is always. My alarm bells always do go off when someone starts a question with, "I'm going to riff for a little bit." I was like, "Oh no," but it was good. I'm glad it was a riff worth riffing.
Great.
Yeah.
No, I think we are talking. Some people are talking about it in some ways, right? We talk about it in the ways of co-benefits, right? So by prescribing, for example, as a physician, a plant-forward diet, right? There's so many different ways to call it, but a plant-based, plant-forward, where your main protein is coming from legumes, from nuts, from not meat, right? Does have massive cardiovascular benefits, right? That we know of. Now, that can be a conversation that can be had, but I think the problem we run into is it's very hard to take a hamburger away from somebody. And I that's just a weird way to say it, but people get really, really personal about their food, right? And it becomes a difficult thing when if you were to, for example, pass a regulation, saying each person's only allowed to have a certain amount of meat, right? I think people start getting really upset by that, right? And I think, in medicine in general, We don't learn a lot about nutrition in medical school, but we generally say, you should have carbohydrates, you should have protein, you should have fruits and vegetables. But we rarely sit down and have nutritional counseling with our patients, right? And I think this is a whole paradigm of medicine that is starting to shift more towards preventative medicine and care, right? But absolutely, shifting towards a plant-forward diet is an incredible way to reduce your carbon footprint, right? And it's good for you, it's good for the planet, it's kind of good for all around.
Even just a little bit of reduction, meatless Mondays and little steps can really have a big impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
I love that I'm like learning from the audience too.
Yes.
That's very rare, that the audience is also more knowledgeable than the three people.
Let's say
on
4.
Stage. Thank you for teaching me.
Yeah, and also I don't have any kids and I don't eat meat, so I'm just pretty fucking great.
Holy shit. Well, I
the
have
takeaway.
had a child and eat burgers and get a little personal when people try to take it away.
Yeah.
So
I do have like a coal mine. I don't know if that affects
Oh, yeah,
anything.
yeah, that does, for sure.
I do have my own coal. It's just a hobby of mine, and I just and
It's for
I don't.
your sexual satisfaction.
Yeah, it's the only way I can. I just dig it up and then I burn it, and I don't use anything with the energy. I just laugh.
incredible.
I just laugh and dance around it.
It is uncomfortably easy for me to imagine you doing that. Okay, these 2 questions, then we're going to move on. Please, tell us your name.
Hi, I'm Ross.
Hi, Ross.
And hey, Matt.
Oh, hey.
And
Is that Ross? Hey.
yes, hello. So my question was about you'd gone to Guatemala to gather information. What are some other gaps in our knowledge about how humans respond to climate that you would love to see solved, or what's some good work being done in that area?
It's a really good question.
This
You
also
guys,
kind of-
you guys are all killing it. Yeah, literally.
I also love that this is such a not only informed audience, but such a supportive audience that someone literally went, "Wow, great question."
Yeah, I heard that. Who was
Like, I
that?
love the alley-oop. There you go. You got it.
So I've heard, and I've been
Wow,
told
great
that
response.
we have all the solutions today to solve the climate crisis, right? Like energy solutions. Like we could stop pumping oil tomorrow, and we would be able to, over a certain number of years, be able to completely transition away from using fossil fuels. Like we could end this, essentially starting tomorrow if we wanted to, right? We could. So why aren't we? And how can we change that? I mean, that's the biggest question, I think, right?
Thank you. Okay. Please tell us your name and ask your question.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Jacques. This is really fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this and great questions. Hopefully, this will be okay one.
I would love if that was the end of the question.
Yeah, that's
Just
it.
Like, I just want to say, this rules. You guys are great.
Thank you so much. Mic drop. I have a question about microplastics.
Okay, great.
Is it possible to do anything about the microplastics that are already in your body?
That's such a good question.
Yeah. Also, this is going to sound like a joke, but it's a genuine question I was thinking about. When I'm in the shower, this is the thing I thought about. You never hear about macroplastics. Why do we never hear that term?
So I'm not a plastics expert, but
Yeah.
the things I do know about microplastics is concerning, absolutely. And there was a study recently published in the New England Journal of Medicine, which is like one of the most prestigious journals in the world, and they took the plaques out of people's carotid arteries, right? And they found microplastics in them, and they found that those people who had higher rates of microplastics were more likely to have strokes and worsening cardiovascular disease. So we know this is a huge problem. I don't know of any way to get them out of your body, but maybe someone in this audience does. This audience seems pretty good. So
in fact-
I don't know.
There's a duo in the back with a vacuum cleaner willing to try.
I just want to say, poor Karen has gotten more tense as every minute has passed. Are you good?
No, I'm okay.
I'm also going to say that as an ER doctor, you've definitely had patients with macroplastics in them.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh,
wow. We're not going to talk about the health products.
Yeah.
Wait, like a frisbee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Where?
And where? Where was
In their
it?
hand.
Yeah. They come in and they go, hey, this seemed like a place where you all could use a good toss. Okay, well, as you all can obviously already see, and there will be another opportunity for questions, so I promise this is not your only chance. As you can all already see, Cecilia is all about getting accurate medical and scientific information out to the public. And we are currently in a room full of TV and film professionals. I mean, just The talent in the audience is incredible. The talent on this panel is incredible.
Okay, let's relax.
Joanna was the head writer. Joanna was the head writer on a show about an animated hamster. Matt worked on an episode of TV where Carly Kloss taught middle schoolers computer coding. And Karen once got a round of applause from a late night audience for showing a photo of her hot grandpa.
That's true.
These are all
That's
true.
100% true.
Okay, you
I didn't-
convinced me.
I did not make a single one of those up. But, Cecilia, you are no slouch yourself. So let's take a look at some of the times that you've crossed over with Hollywood, and maybe even try, with this crowd, to find some new roles for you in the future in a game that we're calling Hot TV Roles. Okay. To start off, let's look at some of the things that you've already filmed. So first, this is an episode that the BBC shot about you, and it was all about your work, and it contained this one sequence which I really love and want to share with everyone. So here's the clip from the BBC.
We're here in the Columbia Medical School Sim Center. Sim centers are used around the country and around the world to train medical students, nurses, physicians even, in understanding cases that they are likely going to be seeing in their medical practice. It's been really, really hot outside. We've been seeing a lot of cases of heat stroke. Do you guys think this could be heat stroke?
Okay, leading question.
That's a good idea, something that we had thought about.
Between the years 2000 and 2016, over 125 million people were exposed to heat waves. Heat-related illness is a spectrum of illness. On the severe end of the spectrum is what we call heat stroke, and we diagnose it based on an elevated body temperature and neurologic dysfunction. Some of the work that we've been doing is to recognize that this is a very time-sensitive condition and to develop protocols so that when someone comes in and is diagnosed with heat stroke, a cascade of things start happening to immediately begin to cool people. It's one way that health systems can become more resilient and become adapted to these types of changing climatic conditions that we're seeing.
Okay, well, I mean, one thing that I love about that is, like, you're teaching them and you're like, we've been seeing a lot of heat stroke. Could this be heat stroke?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and all the kids are like, yeah, it's heat stroke. You're like, this kid nailed it. And then the other is I love, it's like, I understand that you wouldn't do this with a real patient, but this is like a doll patient.
Mannequin.
A mannequin. And I love the amount of times that they're checking the eyes of the mannequin and going like, she's totally unresponsive. I think she might be dead. Okay, so that's incredible. I also love that you're like, this is the Columbia University Sim Center. Here we go, simulating. Okay, does anyone have any questions about that before we move on?
Yeah, did they add the music in post, or does that play?
Every time it plays.
Yeah, just to help you get motivated at work. This one's a serious case. Crank up the music.
Okay, well, that is that nonfiction, unscripted TV look is a look at the dangers of high heat. Now, it is also directly tied to another one of Cecilia's Hollywood roles, which I think you all are going to be very excited about, which is that you consulted on an episode of Grey's Anatomy, specifically season 21, episode 8, an episode that was titled Drop It Like It's Hot, where, and I'm going to quote from the Grey's Anatomy Wikipedia, the Grey's Anatomy Universe Wikipedia, in the midst of a deadly heat wave, the team at Grey Sloan struggles to keep up with an overwhelming amount of patients. Amelia and Winston face a challenging surgery, while Joe and Lucas run an errand for the hospital that takes an unexpected turn. Okay.
Was it the errand that you consulted on?
Okay. They were like, what's it like to run an errand? Okay, any other questions about this?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, well, I was just going to ask, was the surgery more challenging in the heat because you're holding an ice cream in one hand?
It's dripping. Okay, well,
Okay, no, I have an
Please.
actual question.
Thank you.
So when you're consulting as a doctor for, like, are you part of the writer's room? Like, are you part of sort of informing the writers of what's the accurate depiction, or on set as well, or is it like separate?
Yeah, I would just meet with the writer's room via like a Zoom screen. We had a few sessions of a few hours, and it was just talking about like what would a heat wave look like? What would happen in a hospital? What would happen in a community? What would be the problems? What would be the stories?
So they like mind you for the stories. You should get residuals, girl. This audience gets it.
No, but it was super funny because, you tell them, what it would look like, and then they get back to you and they're like, okay, so we're going to have a patient coming with heat stroke, and we're going to put him in, a tub of water. That's what you're supposed to do, right, to cool them rapidly. And they're like, can we have him have a heart attack and then shock him while he's in the water? And I was like, I'll have to get back to you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then, you go look it up. But, they want to, dramatize it. But there was a case study of somebody who shocked somebody who had a cardiac arrest in a cold pool. So, like, oh my God, go figure.
You can do that?
You can do it. I didn't know it until I had to look it up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, she can, like, I'm not going to try and do that. Like, I'm not.
I don't know. I feel like you would.
Well,
Like, just throw a toaster in there? I don't know. Like, what do I...
Karen,
I was just gonna ask, when you're watching like shows and movies and you see something that is medically inaccurate, does that take you out of it, or are you able to just sort of believe in what's happening?
Yeah, and supplementary question, like, which shows or movies can you watch and which ones can't you? Which
Oh.
ones
I
are like...
don't really watch medical shows. So when I saw the season, I hadn't seen Grey's Anatomy in 20 years. I was like shocked. I was
And
like,
did you
oh
tell
my
them that?
gosh.
You're like, I haven't seen your show in 20 years.
I watched an episode in preparation for the meeting, so I was like, okay, I'm prepared. Yeah, I prepped.
I do want to add, my dad is very retired and was never a medical professional. He worked for the Port Authority. But one of the things he's done in retirement is start at episode 1, season 1, and watch every single episode of Grey's Anatomy. And now I'm not joking, my brother and I have to make sure that he does not intervene in medical emergencies because he's so convinced that he knows the medical answers now. He's like, I've seen enough Grey's Anatomy. That man needs a tracheotomy. We're like, sit down. Dad, you sit down.
Dad, put the pen down. You're not going to be able to do it with a pen.
100% yes.
You can't do the empty pen tube in the neck thing. Like, that's just...
I mean, if you're watching this now, you need to sit down. Okay.
Yeah, actually, supplementary question. How often do you get someone in ER with something and you're like, that's not a thing we do, that's not a real, what TV show did you see that on?
Oh, that they want the thing.
People Google stuff a lot before they come to the ER, but ChatGPT now too.
Oh,
and
that's gonna
I
suck.
know it though. I know it when I walk in the room that they've been like ChatGPTing stuff because they're like super anxious,
Yeah,
right?
they're using
like,
M-dashes
What
and they're talking to
about
you.
what about you're like, and then I'm like, you ChatGPT. So how'd you know, right? Like, and then-
I just want to say some of us are anxious without ChatGPT. A really pure version of anxiety.
Well, look, I can't tease you like this without showing you a clip. So, Joe and Lucas run an errand for the hospital. It takes an unexpected turn. Let's watch a clip.
Wow.
I mean, that's first of all some like absolutely Emmy-worthy startle acting. That is, I'm reading my romance novel. Oh no, a gun!
Is this one of the things you consulted in? Is this one of your other dangerous jobs?
You frequently rob liquor
I
stores.
have to say, the most unrealistic part is that if you've been to a New York deli, no ice bag is that big.
Oh yeah.
They're all like this big, or a cup. That's the only qualm I had.
I do think that Grey's Anatomy is in Seattle.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So the ice bags
what?
are bigger there. Yep.
Seattle.
You've only
I'm sorry.
You've only had multiple decades to learn that fact. So.
Wow. Wow, my American passport has been rescinded.
That's right.
Amazing.
Seattle is in America.
That's right.
No, I know. It's the fact that I've clearly never watched an episode of Grey's Anatomy. I have, though. I have.
How often, as an emergency room doctor, are you out getting ice at a liquor store when you're accidentally involved in an armed robbery?
That's never happened.
Okay.
No, that's never happened.
What are some other differences between you and doctors that you see on TV?
Well, so again, I didn't see Grey's Anatomy in 20 years, and I was like shocked. I mean, first of all, call rooms. We go to call rooms to sleep. That is it. We're exhausted. We go alone and we just sleep in the call room.
What? Can you explain what is
A call room? Like, so they're the rooms that they have in the hospital because doctors end up going in and they work 24 or 36 hours, and they can't go home. So we have rooms that have beds in them to sleep. But in Grey's Anatomy, things beyond that happen in these rooms with
Wait,
beds.
like what?
And that doesn't happen
What happens?
in real life.
Tell us what happens.
You just go in and you sleep. You're so tired. You just go in and you sleep.
What happens on Grey's Anatomy?
You gotta watch Grey's Anatomy.
Now that honestly, I think you are doing a more effective promo than the one we just watched. You'd be like, we just sleep, but what they do? on Grey's Anatomy this Thursday night. That's not happening in our hospital.
I think I'm gonna watch an episode.
Yeah.
And also, like, we don't really wear white coats, like, generally. Like, I don't wear a white coat to work. But in Grey's Anatomy, they always wear their white coats. That's another thing.
Wait,
And-
you're just dressed. Wait, what? What are you wearing?
That was for a. But that was for a film. But like in real life, I don't ever wear a white coat.
What are you wearing?
Oh.
I just wear scrubs.
Scrubs.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay, you thought she was just like there, like in athleisure.
Yeah,
or
I thought you
something.
were wearing like what we would be wearing.
You were on the verge of a panic attack. You were like, are you wearing khakis while you're a doctor in the art? No, it's scrubs. That's good.
That makes sense.
Okay, so we've heard about some of the literally hot TV roles that Cecilia's had in the past. Now I would like for each of you, Hollywood and television professionals, I would like for each of you to pitch a TV show or an episode of an existing TV show that you think that Cecilia should be involved with in the future. And if you are one of the many incredibly powerful Hollywood mega producers in the audience, please make this happen. Okay, so each of you have a chance to pitch a show or an episode of a show that you think Cecilia should be in the future, using your expertise.
Okay, it's a woman who needs to take out her garbage, and it's very far, and it's whole season.
Okay.
Basically, the season is the trajectory of her going from her, I guess, like third story apartment to an outdoor area where she throws away the trash, and as she's going down, there's trials and tribulations. Like maybe like a polar bear.
Okay.
Like maybe a first date with a Guatemalan man.
Okay.
Who happens to be there.
Lots of twists and turns in this.
Yes. So it's sort of like I would say it's serialized. But at the end, you see her throw away the trash, but there's always more trash, which is a symbol of us as a race and us adding a significant amount of trash into our world, which makes climate change worse.
Okay.
And as I'm sorry, this is going long,
is a
but let me
serious
just
pitch.
stay with me. So, but every season, the snow
there's multiple
around her
seasons.
starts decreasing because it gets hotter. And
Okay.
then, the trials and tribulations become lesser because there's less people living there. And then at the end, she dives into the trash.
Okay.
Because it's like, that's what we've done to our planet.
We are the trash.
Hire me.
Okay. That's incredible. I also like that it kind of had like elements of Lost, the polar bear, and then also it was like how 24 was in real time, but this is like slower than real time.
Exactly. Yes, you got
Yeah.
it. Yes.
Each
Thank
episode
you.
is much longer than 30 minutes of, but it's only in real life like 14 seconds.
Precisely.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Yep, I love that.
Thank you for understanding me.
Okay, either of you have a pitch?
Okay, so my show is Dr. Cecilia, the ER doctor and climate researcher who works at the intersection of emergency medicine and global warming.
Okay, now that's the title.
And Mindy.
Okay.
Mindy?
And Mindy. Okay. And so it's set in a house in Boulder where Dr. Cecilia crashes in her spacecraft.
Okay.
And
Feeling
I feel
similarities
like
to Mork and Mindy so far.
Yeah, it's basically exactly the plot of Mork and Mindy, except because we don't have Robin Williams anymore, now it's Dr. Cecilia.
Okay.
And she learns about our human customs and in the process, and explains to Mindy in the process about the intersection of emergency medicine and climate change. And at the end of every episode, she reports back to her superior doctors while upside down on a couch.
Okay.
I feel like at least half this audience is too young for Mork and Mindy.
I do feel like that would have gotten
I feel
a better
like I
reaction
should have
from...
gone with option number 2, which was Dr. Cecilia and Kel.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
My pitch is, I really only watch one show, which is a very intense reality show called The Great British Bake Off. And in that show, heat plays so much of a bigger factor than you think it will. Everything is melting all the time, and these people are just trying to freeze their chocolates. And I think if you came in and were explaining how much better this process would be without climate change in that tent, that would solve some problems.
Wow.
That's an incredible pitch that I feel like is plausible.
Yes, thank you.
Actually doable.
Actually, totally doable. Okay. Did any of those speak more or less highly to you?
They're all great.
Okay,
They're all
great.
great.
Very diplomatic. Okay, very diplomatic. Okay, So, panelists, this is the part of the show where we get to know a little bit more about what our guest expert is like as a person. And in today's version, since we've got such an extremely talented and exciting person, I'm going to have you guess. We sometimes would do like a 2 truths and a lie. Instead of that, I am going to tell you a fact about Cecilia, and you are going to guess whether this fact is a true fact about Cecilia or is a fact about a podcast bro from the manosphere, or both. This is ER Doc, Pod Bro, or both. Okay, great.
That took a turn. I was not expecting that.
Okay, so is this our ER doctor, a podcast bro from the manosphere, or both? Okay, was once filmed surfing in the immediate aftermath of a shark attack.
Dr. Cecilia.
100% Dr. Cecilia.
Yeah.
I think both.
This was just Dr. Cecilia. Now tell us, you got in the water, there had just been a shark attack, and you said, we're still going to film.
It was 2 days per. It was a day or a half, maybe.
You're
earlier?
asking me like I know. I would not be in the water is what I know.
It was roughly a day and a half earlier. But
Okay.
we had to, it was shoot with this BBC documentary thing. We were at the Rockaways. And they'd closed the beach the day before. And a shark had attacked a woman, and they never found the shark. I mean, the shark swam away.
But they found the woman?
They found the woman.
Thank God.
And never knew what kind of shark it was. Anyway, so they closed the beach for a day, figuring the shark had left. And then we had to go film the next morning. And so we filmed. We had to film. So we paddled out.
Doctor, have you been to an ER as a patient?
Oh, great question.
No.
Wow.
Wow.
No, I haven't.
Wait, I just want to say, I thought you got attacked by the shark, and then you were filming yourself.
Oh, yeah. The shark.
I'm so understanding it now.
I have to say though, based on what I know about you, the idea that a shark attacks you and then you turn on the camera and go,
Yeah.
"We're gonna teach the shark a lesson," does not
That's what
seem
I
far.
thought, and I immediately believed it.
Yeah. You're gonna punish that shark. Okay, next one. Is interested in Buddhism and functional medicine. Is that our ER doctor, a podcast bro, or both?
ER doctor, podcast bros don't care about Buddhism.
I'm going to say, actually, both.
I'm going to need some clarity in what the second half of that means.
Functional medicine. Well, we're gonna tell you right now that the answer is both. And now, clarify, what is functional medicine?
I would say functional medicine is thinking about like not waiting for disease to happen to you, but proactively trying to improve your health and make your well-being better, and not waiting for something bad to happen.
Okay.
That's functional medicine.
Okay, and many of the podcast bros very interested in this. Comes up a lot on their podcasts.
I'm
Okay.
sure they say they're the experts on it.
Yeah.
Is the difference.
Yes, definitely
And also,
yes.
it tends to then segue into some grift to sell you some kind of supplements.
Absolutely. There's a supplement ad right after that. Responded to their parents' divorce by becoming a skateboarder. Is that our ER doctor, a podcast bro, or both?
It's going to be both for me.
I really hope it's both. That's so cool.
Okay.
I'm gonna go bro.
This is Podcast Bro, yes. Specifically Andrew Huberman. That's how he responded, he says. But you know what? Lots of different ways to cope with a tough childhood experience. Are you a skateboarder or no?
I used to skateboard.
Okay, so
Never enough times.
the problem here, but this was not a response to parents' divorce. You just became a skateboarder of your own volition.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Their marriage was so strong that you were like, I have to go out and skate.
I do think that sometimes that happens. Kids are like, I don't have enough trauma. I got to create some trauma for myself. Okay. No, that's not like parenting advice, by the way. All right. Questions from the audience. We have time for more questions. If you have another question, I saw a few people who wanted to ask something. Yes. Hey, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Gia. Thank you so
Hi, Gia.
much, Dr. Cecilia, and also love that we have liquid death and no plastic water bottles. I was really curious about how the EPA has been gutting air quality standards lately, and I'm deeply concerned. As a fellow asthmatic, represent. What do you see as the biggest challenge for us as individuals? Because obviously this is a policy issue, but I want to be able to advocate for the best way that I can, and it feels often like we've been kneecapped, for lack of a better word, because we are at the mercy of these larger systems that we live inside of. And it doesn't seem to matter how much we voice our dissent. The systems work despite that, including what Roger was talking about with animal agriculture. And so I didn't know if from a medical perspective, if there was any pushback against these lack of regulations and things like gas stoves in our homes and saying, like, we're not going to continue to build pipelines and continue to give children 13% higher asthma rates in their homes because they have indoor air pollution that's worse than what would have been available even outdoors.
Right. Yeah, all of that's true. And what's happening with EPA right now is particularly disturbing because they're trying to get the Clean Air Act. And what they're trying to do is discount any of the human health benefits that we get out of regulating air quality, right? And there's something like $2 trillion a year we save in avoided health harms because we actually have a Clean Air Act, right? Something that the investment's like 30 to 1. For every $1 you spend, you save $30. Like it's the best, it's the deal of the century. And they're trying to just basically like not talk about that at all when they're talking about how they're going to regulate air quality. And all these things are completely maddening. And as a fellow citizen, I am like equally maddened with you. And so what do we do? And I think what I've seen is a lot of people in my sphere of climate medicine is getting out there and writing op-eds, right? Trying to raise awareness to the issue because I don't think enough people know about this, right? And then I think what can we do as citizens? Like we can turn around, we can call our representatives. I think we have to call our state representatives, our local representatives, and I think we have to send them letters. And I think we have to get really serious about it and talk about it more. I agree. Part of me wants to like go storm the EPA. Like, well, I just want to go work for the EPA, and then I think I can change things, right? And that's really hard to do. I think we're all sort of in this place right now where we're surrounded by decisions that are being made that we have no control over. But I would say that the more we can talk about them, the more we spread awareness about them and the truth about what's happening, the stronger we're going to be for it.
I think everything you said 100%, and I also think it's important to add that like this is truly like a bipartisan issue, and not with the politicians, but like people are in favor of clean air and clean water.
Yeah.
So I do think that the local and the state level, this is something that like even if the federal level is going to be completely on the wrong side of, people across the board want these things. There's not a big constituency for filthy air.
I agree. But there is a constituency for jobs
Sure.
and the way that issues get framed in terms of, well, we're going to have jobs in the short term and economic gain in the short term at the, anyway.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, listen, if you told me you would give me staffed on a union show, I'd suck on a tailpipe for a couple minutes. There's no doubt about it. I'm just being honest. I would do it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Hello, I'm Xander. Thank you so much for talking. Thank you to you guys for putting on this wonderful, wonderful event and everyone who helped. Initially I had a question that's a policy question, but if you're around after, I would love to ask you. But we have a lot of creatives in the audience, and so I was wondering if you've been to a lot of places, you've done a lot of really interesting things, and I was wondering if you could share one story that really moved you about someone who you met who was directly impacted by climate change, whether it was a patient or a refugee or someone who worked for an NGO, but something that really moved you on a human level.
Yeah, wow. I mean, every day. I mean, seriously. And from local to global, right? I think about the patient who comes in, the mom who comes in with her kid who's asthmatic, and, she's giving her child all the medications that she's been told to give them, right? All the inhalers, all the pills. And the kid is there for his, 5th visit this month in the emergency room with an asthma exacerbation. And the problem is that they live on a super busy street that's a trucking route. And they're on the ground story apartment building, and the kid can't breathe clean air because of the dust tailpipe emissions that are just pouring into this child's window like every single day, right? And how do you help people in this situation, right? And then I think of, when I was working in that picture on the border of Syria, I was working with these 2 women, and they were nurses who had actually fled Syria during their nursing training. And, they came over, and I was working in this tent where we were taking care of all women's health issues. And they came over, and, they said that their story was that they had fled Syria after they had first been displaced from their hometown because of such a severe drought that killed all of their livestock. They couldn't grow crops for years and years. Finally fled to Damascus, and then fled, to outside of Syria to Lebanon, where they were. And they were nurses, right? And they were there, and they came to find me because they wanted to see if I needed help. You know what I mean? And it blew my mind, right? And there we were, and we were seeing 50 patients a day It was 120 degrees in the desert. We had all the tent doors closed to protect privacy. And each of these women spoke 3 dialects, could help translate. And by the end of being there for 2 months, I taught them everything I was doing. I showed them how to use an ultrasound machine, how to do prenatal counseling, all these different things. And then when I left, I knew that they were going to keep taking care of their community, right? There's amazing people in this world. I mean, and those are 2 of them that I think about a lot.
Funny enough, that was a answer to my question. You're Western trained, you've practiced here in the US, yet you've also seen a lot of the developing world and practiced there. I was just wondering if there's anything that has ever really surprised you or that you've learned from medical practice or health wellness, from that outside world that maybe is missing here in our country.
Wow, that's a really great question. I think that other parts of the world have a better, in some ways, when there's less resources and there's less distraction in some ways, there's more community and there's more of a concept of healing that we don't have to the same extent in the Western medical system that I find. And we need hospitals, I'm not saying that. They're very sterile, right? It doesn't feel like you're going into a place where you're gonna heal necessarily, right? People are really scared in hospitals. They're mostly scared and they want to leave. They just want to leave. And then we don't really have a place for them to go and heal afterwards necessarily. They go home, you'll be fine, right? And I find when you go to parts of the world where there is, frankly, less medical infrastructure, there's more of a culture of healing and what that means. Healing your body, healing your mind. There's a different culture of it that I find to be really lacking here.
Okay. I think we have time for the people who are already standing up, and then we're going to wrap up here. So please, ask your question. Hi.
Hi, my name is Rita. Thank you all for being here. This is really great. My question is related to, I guess, the sort of temperature question where we talk a lot about the extreme heat. I'm curious if you've seen any things with new extreme colds and whether those also have interesting or unexpected negative outcomes when people aren't prepared to deal with that end of the temperature spectrum.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think we sort of say, global warming, it's global weirding, right? I think that's a much better term, right?
Put that on a tie-dye T-shirt for sure.
Totally.
That'll sell.
Right? So, it's supposed to be hot, but it's there's a hailstorm. You're like, what the heck is going on, right? And these extremes that we're seeing are really at both ends of the spectrum. And so when you look at sort of a graph of normal temperatures, yes, overall they're getting warmer. The plants warm 1.5 degrees Celsius, but the bell curve's flattening out. So the tails are getting longer on both ends, right? And we can think about Texas, right? I think it was a couple years ago, but there's been multiple instances where they get ice storms, right? And the entire grid goes down. And when the grid goes down, hospitals can't function, people who have medical equipment, and lots of people suffer and die, right? Because of cold snaps, right? So we do have to talk about cold snaps too. It's climate weirding. It's not just warming.
Okay. Any questions up here before we keep
No.
going? Okay,
I
great.
forgot I was on stage for a brief moment. I've been so enthralled.
Okay. Please.
So thanks for being here. Also, welcome to the Science and Entertainment Exchange. It's usually us asking y'all stuff. So, what aren't we doing well? What aren't we covering? What are you not seeing represented in the stories we're giving you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think...
I've never heard global weirding on TV, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. I think there's a lot of different ways you could look at it. I don't think we're seeing enough success stories, right? And partially maybe it's a lack of we need more imagination, right? What would it look like if things got better, right? Related to the environment and climate, right? Because I think right now everybody's a really dark picture, right? And we see images all day, every day on the news that are really, really dark, right? And I think sometimes what could shift behavior is if we see actually the imagination do something really awesome, right? What does it look like if we turn this around and things go well? And I don't know if this is gonna sell tickets, but a creative way of looking at things whereby we actually come together as a civilization and we eliminate poverty and hunger and all these childhood diseases that kids shouldn't be dying from, and and we are able to address climate change and issues like that, right? What is the kind of imagination does it take to get us to actually start thinking in that direction? I don't see that. I don't see people putting those ideas forward and putting those characters forward that are really leading those types of thought work. And I think there are people who are leading that type of thought work, and those stories need to be told instead of the dark ones.
I think it's, please. I think it's really interesting to hear you say that. I'm kind of surprised too, in a good way. So it makes me wonder, like, what level of optimistic versus pessimistic are you for the future? Because I would have guessed it would be pretty pessimistic, but that sounds like you actually do have some hope that things could actually change too.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm lucky. I'm surrounded by a lot of young doctors, right? Like I get to work in a training hospital, and there's so many young doctors coming through the ranks who really, really care about this, right? So I think when you're surrounded by youth, like this is their world. Like and they're gonna throw their lives at this, right? Like they don't have anything to lose, when you're young, and they're gonna go full steam ahead on this. And I see that energy, and I think that gives me a ton of hope for what's gonna happen. And there's also really, really smart inventions and creativity happening everywhere, every day, right? The question is, what's it going to take for that spark to start really making changes?
Okay, last audience question.
Hey, I'm Jessica. Hey, Chris.
Hi, Jessica.
My question actually, I was thinking about this before that last question, but as a doctor, what individual behaviors would you like to see us writing into our characters as a model of what to do to live more in harmony with the environment and in a way that's taking care of our bodies?
Now, if it can also take place in those break rooms, whatever you're about to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's just small things you can do sort of in characters, like maybe the character walks or rides a bike, right? They don't jump in their car, they get around by bike, or, I think there's small sort of things you can do. They compost their food. I think that subliminal messaging actually does make a difference when you sort of have characters who do sustainable behaviors, and that's just how they are, right? And what was the rest of the question?
What would you like to see the characters in TV shows do?
Yeah, and I think being engaged in a meaningful way. I think in policy, I think we all need to understand how to do that. And even as coming from a doctor, how do you become involved in civic issues, right? How do you go to a town hall meeting, right? I mean, we have to do more of that to re-knit our world so we can actually make better decisions. And I think we need examples. And I think that's where people get examples from, is from they watch shows, right? They watch movies, and that's how they think they could act. So role modeling that type of behavior, people being engaged for positive community social change.
Okay, well, you do such incredible work. You are such an interesting person. Clearly, we could talk to you for 3 more hours and not run out of topics, but we're coming to the end of the time that we have. So, do you have any last questions before I wrap up here?
I have a question. You said you work with a lot of young doctors. I just wondered, do you know if any of them are single, and do they happen to live in the greater LA area?
Maybe.
Okay, yeah, put that out there.
I'll put it out there for you, Karen.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Great.
Really calm, grounded girl.
Okay, so before we go, Cecilia, what do you hope that people who are in the audience, what do you hope that people will take away from tonight's show?
Yeah, I would say that that bringing science into entertainment can obviously be fun and creates really real good storylines that I think people want to hear, and then I think that's a hopeful message. I think science is a beacon of hope for civilization and for our society, and I think we need more of it. We need more people to understand that. And scientists struggle, right, to tell their stories, but every scientist has an incredible story about what they're doing and why they're doing it, and I think we need to hear more of them.
And what do you feel like people, the number one thing you wish people knew from your research, from the things that you've learned in your studies on health and climate, what do you wish that the general public knew?
Oh, man. That what they do matters, right? That how we live matters. And even just taking care of your backyard matters, right? And the decisions that you make actually affect the community around you.
Okay, panelists, that is what Cecilia hopes that people will be taking away from today's show. What will you actually be taking away? Karen, what will you be taking away from today's show?
I guess just continue to not go mountain biking.
Okay, great. Joanna, what will you be taking away from today's show?
I think that sometimes your doctor is the craziest person in the room.
Okay, yes. I'm going to take that away as well. And Matt, what will you be taking away from tonight's show?
I think I'll take away firstly that Chris is really weird about oily seagulls. and also the ERs are at their craziest when it's really hot. I had no idea.
That's really interesting. Thank you so much to the three of you for playing. That is it for tonight. Thank you to tonight's expert, Cecilia Sorensen. Thank you to our panelists, Joanna Hausmann, Chee, and Matt Kirshen. Thank you to the Wellcome Trust for sponsoring this show and making it possible. Thank you to everyone at the National Academy of Sciences, in particular, Rick and Sachi at the Science and Entertainment Exchange, and Carrie Stover at LabX, who produces this show. Thank you also to the incredible staff here at Dynasty Typewriter. Give them a big round of applause. Samuel, Dax, Raven, Trevor, Deanna, Christina, Brenna, Vanessa, and everyone else. I am your host, Chris Duffy, and this has been Wrong Answers Only. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thanks again for coming out to Dynasty Typewriter. If you got any trash, please take it with you and throw it out in the hall.